You're one of the guys, you're in the lion's den every day talking about stuff like this. And I don't know how you reason with these people on and off air.
Yes, some are reasonable, but it's a dwindling few. I mean, there is I think a group of people on the left right now who live in such a tight ideological bubble. They live in an alternate reality. And their preferred version of America is a lot different than what President Trump's preferred version is. But I think what a majority of Americans would want, this issue with immigration you're raising, immigration plays a big part in this book because of everything Trump did in the first 100 days. But the idea that if we're going to let you come here and you don't want to assimilate into our culture, and in fact you want to import other cultures that are at odds with what we're doing here in America, that's a huge issue. People are waking up to this all over the country right now.
Yeah, I mean, I watch a lot of your segments, mostly for comedic value. But some of these people, the title, obviously, A Revolution of Common Sense, which ain't so common, especially over there. I watch these things happen, and I'm like, do these people really believe that America is bad, or are they just playing the part?
Some do, actually. I've encountered a lot of people from the left recently and over time, and some of it I think has to do with Trump. I mean, Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. A lot of people are broken over it, and they then decide because the American people elected Donald Trump, that makes America rotten. Some people fundamentally think America's rotten at the core and that the American experiment was inherently corrupt or it's racist or what have you, and therefore it needs to be ripped out root and branch. There's a lot of hostility to capitalism right now. We saw that in the New York mayoral election. There's a lot of belief that socialism is a better way. But all of these things are inherently bad for the future of the country. And the reason I put the phrase Western civilization in the title of the book is because I've come to believe we're not just arguing about politics as usual anymore. We are in a fight for the future of the West. And I don't know if the president knew he was signing up for this, but he is the leader in the fight for the people who want to preserve Western civilization.
I've been saying that we are in a cultural civil war for, a decade now. But what you were talking about, TDS, failed MSNBC host Joy Reid, another American not really worth retaining at all. Listen to this.
This nation was founded by killers who slaughtered 90% of the indigenous people, leeches who glommed off of the indigenous who taught them how to survive in the wilderness and then murdered them as their things and then took all their land. And you want to talk about entitlement, they felt entitled to own other people and they didn't even want to pay taxes on it. So they decided to have a whole war with Britain.
Yeah, so we did fight the Revolutionary War of a 2.5% tax hike in a breakfast beverage, and now they confiscate 50% of my income. However, I look at someone like that, I'm like, you are a woman who's been afforded every opportunity, and she screwed that up somehow. I mean, she had a multi-million-dollar slot, screws that up, then comes here and tells us, oh, we're bad because we slaughtered 90% of Native. We bought or traded for most of the land that we live on today, and they also weren't exactly hunky-dory. They killed each other's tribes for 300 years before we got here.
When you hear Joy Reid speak about our country that way, you might say, well, that's just a failed media person. That's what the median Democrat believes. You're going to see this in the midterms. They are going to nominate people for Congress and Senate all over this country who basically would say the same thing if they stood up at a Democratic Party meeting and were asked questions about it, because that's what the Democratic base expects out of you. That's what they want you to believe. Look at the lady they nominated in the recent special election in Tennessee. I mean, she was kind of a Looney Tune.
She hated the district she lived in.
And the people that live there,
Yeah.
She looked down their noses at them. She wanted to defund the police. She thinks men can give birth. She thinks all kinds of things. But she's not on the fringes. That's the median Democrat. And that's what Trump is up against. And I write about this in the book a little bit. He's up against a pretty anti-American radical opposition. And, he takes the position on 80-20 issues. We were talking about narco-terrorists earlier.
Yeah.
It's really legitimately a 70-30 or an 80-20 issue. But now, because he is trying to do something about it, you got a whole political party that cares more about Maduro and narco-terrorists than they do about the people who are losing loved ones to this poison.
No, that's the other thing. In the book, it's amazing. Like, you will laugh, you will cry, you will probably throw this at the wall at some point. That's why you put it in hardback.
Yeah.
Again, shameless plug, buy this book. But, I mean, it is something that it is the revolution. Everyone's afraid, oh, you can't say revolution. You can't say civil war. It is.
I chose the title because it's what President Trump said during his inaugural address. He said we're having a revolution of common sense. When I traveled with him to Michigan on his 100th day in office as part of the book, he said to the crowd in Warren, Michigan, whether you're from the left or whether you're from the right or whatever you are, it's just common sense. And that's how he brands his broad political appeal. It's not really framing it in the old political, ideological terms. He's talking to the average American who plays by the rules, pays their taxes, wants their kids to have a good life, and he's saying, I'm trying to do the common sense thing for you, and that's why he succeeds with a huge swath of voters who don't really like politics, but they like him.
Right, but you also have, like you said, it's like that Elon graph where he's standing in the middle, the left's running away, and the paradigm just shifts, and he's standing in the same spot, and the left is calling him radical.
Yeah. You know, what they did to Elon, and there's a chapter about him in this book, you know, he was of the left. And
electric cars.
I know, this was their main guy, and all he did was commit one sin. Supported a Republican for president. That's all he did. And then he decided to serve his government. And for that, they firebombed Tesla dealerships, attacked his company. You had people like Tim Walz out there praying, hoping that Tesla's stock would fail. So I guess tens of thousands of Americans would lose their jobs. All for politics. And that's all you need to know about the left right now. If Donald Trump has started the party of common sense, they're in the party of uncommon nonsense, and it causes them to do outrageous things like go after Elon, who's one of the greatest entrepreneurs in our country.
Literally is the far and beyond richest man we got. So, fantastic book. I mean, a revolution of common sense. It is definitely worth a read. Scott Jennings, we appreciate you coming in.
Carl, thanks, brother.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.